in the audience, recurring subscribers and new viewers. Just monitoring here our drop frames a little bit, that as usual here in this day and age are a tiny little bit out of hand. Just when you thought it will gonna be okay, then so yeah, failed to reconnect to server. Thank you very much. Welcome everyone. Starting with Google sent over 40,000 warnings of nation-state hacked attacks in 2019. So government-backed hackers targeting journalists, dissidents, government officials and others. Just what we recurrently see here and shout out and warn, especially with state-backed, government-backed controlled backdoors and similar stuff like that. So yeah, that's a real thing, and apparently so much a real thing that Google warned 40,000 times users there, which counters targeted and government-backed hacks against the company and its users, sent account holders almost 40,000 warnings in 2019. Like, wow, that is certainly a number. Governments, officials, journalists, dissidents, geopolitical rivals being the most targeted team members. Said also, yeah, how many targets do we have? Not only Snowden and you and me and stuff, but yeah, 40,000 warnings, apparently top targets. Residents that collectively received more than 1,000 warnings included the United States, India, Pakistan, Japan, South Korea. Came 8 months after Microsoft said it had warned 10,000 customers of nation-sponsored attacks. And if you were wondering why do we do this here, this channel, the security news, this is exactly what all the IT stuff from operating systems, drivers, applications, and everything in between, and certainly the government-mandated crypto backdoors are about. So yeah, it's a real thing, 10,000 to 40,000 warnings a year. And yeah, speaking about Saudis suspected of phone spying campaign in US, exclusive there on that article. Whistleblowers data suggests millions of tracking requests sent over a 4 months period. And if I remember, yeah, of course, maybe there was a previous shout out here previously on this program, for which you probably want to share, like and subscribe here for. At least I remember reading about this and hearing this here in the Chaos Computer Congress some years ago. This infamously hacked SS7 protocol. If you have never heard about this, is an internal routing protocol of mobile phone calls around the world, and that had like zero, like next to none security measures there, and was exposed and hacked open many years ago already, 3, 4, 5 years, here presented in Berlin or Hamburg around the corner at the yearly Chaos Computer Club Congress. And since then the mobile providers implemented firewalls, aka we don't really have security, but at least we filter a little bit. But allegedly this data reveals the whistleblower here, who seeks to expose vulnerabilities in the global messaging system called SS7, appears to suggest that systematic spy campaign by the Kingdom. According to experts, the data suggests that millions of secret tracking requests. So what is this affects each and everyone, even myself traveling to Russia, USA, Taiwan, God forbid somewhere else, you name it. And so basically that means everyone can be tracked. You don't even need to hack something locally, like in Washington DC or here Berlin, or actually, by the way, next door, right? So just issue there some routing requests similar to other border gateway protocol requests, and route this around the world. So sitting there in your comfort in the desert somewhere, and yeah, asking nicely over SS7 of, hey, have you seen this? I mere idea and stuff. So apparently systematic spying, certainly according to the whistleblower. Anyway, I've given the CCC talk previously some years ago. I have no doubt here that this is so. The whistleblower certainly presented some nice papers about this, and if the Saudis are allegedly apparently maybe doing this, then guess what the Five Eyes there with US, UK, Australia, New Zealand and all their friends and family and your local government is doing. So tracking requests which sought to establish the US location of Saudi registered phones appear to originate from the 3 biggest mobile phone providers. Yeah, anyway, you get the idea. Details are there. Doesn't surprise me, but recurring shout out. Also, people all continuously ask me, what can you do here? Unfortunately, protocol super broken. Oops, also shouldn't switch my workspace. Protocols are broken. You cannot really do much about this except not using global messaging system. So decade-old SS7 global, as I said, previous security vulnerabilities. For example, a mobile user from the US traveling in Germany and seeking to make a call back to the US is connecting through the SS7 network. Also, allegedly, they somewhere here or in another article, let's see, LTE, they somewhere write that unfortunately, whatever they invented for LTE is similar, insecure, so just using LTE apparently is not helping, or 5G. So as security by mobile phone providers usually is the opposite of latest and greatest state of the art, and military grade security. Unfortunately, mobile phone industry has a track record of security is garbage, so unfortunately can't give you any tip there. And maybe use only free Wi-Fi and connect over more secure stuff like maybe Signal. Leave me in the comments below what your tips are. But unfortunately, or get a local card and then swap them constantly. But as soon as someone has your local card, then they can track you again. So yeah, anyway. So, but also a recurring shout out. This is exactly the opposite of government mandated backdoors, crypto backdoors. We need top-notch security, and not like some government can track you, maybe a little bit, because some government will track you. Also then, of course, mobile phone stuff needs to be upgraded, but the problems are always backward compatibility. This is why we still have this old-fashioned SS7 GSM stuff in there, because you could make some phone call with your old SIM card and phone and stuff, which people still have in their garage, and weekend getaway and stuff. So yeah, if we upgrade the security, the backward compatibility usually kills it anyway, and eventually we probably should do top-notch state-of-the-art security without backward compatibility. Speaking about which, VPN bypass vulnerability in Apple iOS, because that is what they, hashtag peak bugs, and that is what their security and review is about, previous videos. They review apps, and in the end all their base OS stuff is full with bugs. Anyway, just what we are used to here and shout out constantly on this channel. They report here that security vulnerability discovered in Apple's iOS. They are not a new thing. There are usually many of the allegedly privacy and secure OS not. That prevents VPNs from encrypting all traffic. It's like, seriously, what the heck can you freaking even do wrong there? But the usual theme of Apple trying to reinvent the wheel. First they kill the trackpad and mouse just to bring them back now after a decade. What was old is new again, and what was previously working in the network stack, of course you can break it in 2020. From time to time they may encounter vulnerabilities in third-party software, which the future disclose yada yada. So we are disclosing a VPN bypass vulnerability publicly because it's important that the community and VPN providers, their users are aware of this issue. So what this means is that you install VPN, also recurring shout out here, just using VPN does not make your stuff so much more secure. It's just, if you have plain text stuff, it's just going out at the other end of the internet, and usually the VPN provider stuff have government people like US, UK, Saudis and stuff listening there on this endpoints anyway, and at the edge. And so you need the stuff encrypted anyway, and then running it through a VPN doesn't help you much anyway. But of course, if you're using a VPN that the operating system that you're using is so broken that it's not even routing all traffic through the VPN, is of course, typically when you connect to a virtual private network, you think that the OS sends all the data there, but all existing internet connections, and then reestablish them through VPN tunnel. And they found out that members of the Proton community there discovered that in iOS 13.3.1 the operating system does not close existing connections. The issue also persists in the latest version. This is of course relevant, as lots of stuff is nowadays long running in the background there anyway. So Also, if you were wondering, is Apple the only one? I have to break you the news that, surprise, Windows affected by a similar bug. November, was it current status also of, I think here was this not new March? I think, yeah, why is this so strangely listed? Why is this together with, this is so strange. You think it's old, but no, it's new March 2020, brand new here. Devices using a proxy might show limited or no internet connectivity status. So devices using a manual or auto-configured proxy, especially with a virtual private network VPN, might show limited or no internet connection status in the network connectivity indicator, might happen when, and so on. Devices with this issue might also have an issue reaching the internet using applications that use a WinHTTP or WinINet. Examples of apps that might affect on devices in this state are the following, but not limited to: Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Office 365, Outlook, Internet Explorer 11, and other some versions of Microsoft Edge, which basically, this is also funny, right? The vendors, like, it sounds like, hey, it only does not show internet connectivity status, and then, like, in the second half of the vulnerability report, it shows, yeah, actually applications that use a certain kind of WinHTTP cannot even connect at all. So basically, yeah, if you use VPN, some applications on Windows might not be able to reach the internet, because seriously, what could possibly go wrong? In similar news, dark web hosting provider hacked again. So yeah, the dark web is 2020, even the dark web is not safe of hacking. Dark web hosting provider shuts down after getting hacked for a second time in 16 months. Yeah, recurring theme here. Stuff gets not hacked and broken once, but twice. Not a new thing here, but yeah, largest, so Daniel's hosting of all sites, the largest free, allegedly, apparently, free web hosting provider for dark web services had shut down today, or the other day, after getting hacked the second time in 16 months. Also, yeah, almost 7,600 dark web portals have been taken offline. If you were wondering if the dark web is safe and stuff, and certainly all hosted on one dark web hosting provider, because yeah, hacking provider deleted all sites, giving up because yeah, security certainly is hard in this day and age, as we recurrently see on this channel. Speaking about professional IT and hosting providers, invalid command, operation code write same here of all internal stuff. So this is about a SCSI command on Western Digital devices, a portable one though. And yeah, 2020, even your USB SCSI path-through as used here for this USB thumb drives and external hard drives not even working anymore. So users asking, hey, is there a firmware update, because a Linux kernel puts out here SDC, the SCSI device here for the external hard drive, USB connected hard drive, critical target error at sector so-and-so. If in case you were wondering, so SCSI has commands like read, write and stuff, and write same. By the way, it's an optimization of writing some pattern. Fun fact, you can use this command to write any pattern. So you have some pattern like 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, or just ones or just zeros. Usually, of course, I mean, it's a fun command, right? You can write a static pattern. I wonder how many device implements this correctly. Certainly, it's usually only used with zeros for zeroing out some sector, but you could also blank it out with ones or any other fun pattern. Probably, eventually one should probably test if this actually works correctly. But anyway, 2020, a new device. It was working for decades. In 2020, new freaking devices released to the market. You were wondering what kind of testing have they done, aka none. But yeah, you buy a fancy external hard drive and it doesn't even work reliably. And this is also the recurring shout out of vote with your wallet. I would, by the way, return this, even if they issue here also 6 months later. So yeah, I would return this out of principle. Because I would not support broken devices, and I wish more users would do so too, because this is exactly the problem, that we have so much broken stuff. Like, it's only working with Windows, and as soon as you plug it in somewhere else, and I don't know. It could also be, even if it works on Windows, the next update of Windows, your USB external enclosed drive doesn't work anymore because now Windows also starts to use a command and fails, or yeah, anyway. Just that normal users at home understand why stuff sometimes failed, because of exactly the vendors not testing, not implementing stuff. And I also wonder what they are doing there after decades, changing the firmware, of breaking stuff, not implementing, or maybe rewriting from scratch. Actually, maybe some engineers thought the source code is too horrible, they better rewrite it from scratch, and now this command isn't there anymore. But yeah, fun times. Speaking about fun times, the Intel Math Kernel library of Matlab 2020 was replaced. Finally, after many years. What is this about? This is about an optimized math library using single instruction multiple data, so SS, E2, AVX, and so on. And of course, in previous times, Intel infamously had a vendor check in there that is highly optimized, well, highly single instruction multiple data optimized to make the most use of modern hardware silicon there in CPUs since decades, was not being used on AMD, so giving them basically artificially slowing down AMD CPUs because more advanced and optimized instructions were not used. And Intel was sued due to that. Even I think a decade ago, lost of course this lawsuit, had to pay AMD compensation of hundreds of millions or something. And you see, how long does it take? So only now, after a decade, Matlab updates this. This is also probably how many benchmarks the last decades have been quite unfair, certainly, of all the, not all, but a lot of commercial proprietary stuff was using this Intel optimized Math Kernel library, and yeah, was previously showing worse results on AMD Ryzen, and now with this, do they have a, I think it increased here tremendously. What is it? So previously, by the way, you could probably work around this, but yeah, massively slower. Like, do they have your Threadripper? Yeah, also this means that Threadripper is now the fastest. So yeah, previously like Intel was the fastest. Now with this, where do they have the scores? But anyway, it's the fastest now. Whatever do they have before and after? Not really sure, but yeah, there you have it. Now it's also just a tiny software update, and why personally I always use open compilers and not some closed source libraries and compiler stuff, because yeah. Leaks of also, yeah, with all the broken stuff. And I think we have in previous IT News Chronicles there some days ago, we seen that the cyber hackers promised with the latest analog virus outbreak, they are promised not to target hospitals and stuff. And now, even how bad is the situation that a league of cybersecurity professionals band together to help hospitals. Also, yeah, state of IT security is so bad that IT professionals need to help for free because government infrastructure is so insecure that it's constantly hacked, and also here Windows operating system security and stuff. Growing group of cybersecurity professionals is volunteering their expertise to help hospitals fight off hackers, while doctors and nurses fight the coronavirus, calling themselves the CTI League of Countering Threat Intelligence. And a nod to the superhero team of Justice League, the group has swollen from a handful of professionals to 450 members worldwide in less than 2 weeks. Also, by the way, we have some bloody, I hope we don't have desktop audio muted, but of course some bloody auto-run stuff. So yeah, how bad is the situation, not only with the analog virus, but also digital viruses, malware and stuff, and why I'm really currently calling here for more secure programming languages, more secure operating systems, and that we cannot continue to write stuff in C and hope for the best. And yeah, because all the best at Microsoft, Apple, and so on make certainly mistakes in C and stuff. And yeah. In similar news, Microsoft throttles some Office 365 services to continue to meet demands. So everyone, certainly you heard it, working from home these days with this virus pandemic 2020 here going around. So this is also the result of everyone using just a handful of, instead of what we had, the internet. For those who remember being so long around, the internet was this this loosely connected grid of independent computing resources that in just 2 decades transformed into this massive monopoly of just a handful of services, just that like we had previously with Windows, for example, in the 90s, and so on. So nowadays, just a handful of services, aka as in the times of mainframes, that nowadays you shift some work pattern in a week or two due to some health issue there, health threat going around the world, and services collapse left and right. Services need to throttle video bandwidth. Biggest monopolies need to throttle their office services. It's also why you certainly want a more open internet and a more not as monopoly there, because in case you need it, it might went down and might get throttled. Also recurring theme that it's probably best to host your resources locally. Yes, there are some drawbacks, but seriously also, how far have we can come in this computer chronicles here? In the 80s and 90s, you had your personal computer and you could work like as long as you had electricity, you could work. In 2020, back to the future, back to the mainframes. If your office is down and throttles, you can't get your work done, in my opinion. Not the best development here. And I really seriously wonder what was wrong in running your office programs locally. Certainly an iPad is a computer, as Apple says, so why not run a freaking good old-fashioned office application on your tablet or PC? But yeah, 2020, you can't get work done if your cloud office stuff goes out. Not surprisingly, with many workers studying remotely as a result of coronavirus pandemic, that demands cloud services is up. And yeah, also you use the cloud for scalability, right? Unless everyone uses the cloud for scalability and then it breaks down, right? So temporary feature adjustments. Also, yeah, it's not like it's newspeak, right? In 2020, you don't call it throttling, you call it temporary feature adjustment of like, hey, some temporary, also you pay for some services and then temporary some services and features are adjusted. They are not available, they are adjusted of, yeah, don't we love this newspeak, right? Might take, so warning told customers that making temporary adjustments to selected non-essential, hey, this week you can't change the color in graphs, or this week you can't do 3D graphs, or this week you can only use spreadsheets with 1000 elements because after that our cloud breaks down. It's like, yeah, temporary feature adjustment, my ass. Anyway, leave me in the comments below what you think about the amazing cloud mainframe like situation of money grabbing your customers' resources. But yeah, as I'm not using this, I can laugh about this, but certainly not very funny for those people who depend on their colorful features that temporarily actually would want to use what they pay for. But anyway, you get what you pay for. Anyway, Google to resume Chrome updates. In last episode we had Google suspending Chrome updates, and I actually called bullshit, as in, first of all, they don't get their testing right. Big mega corporations can't even test their software, right? I mean, you get it for free, no warranties anyway, because software anyway never warranties. And I called this bullshit anyway, right? Everyone is relying on remote work and internet more than ever. And if there is a security issue, certainly I called last week that it should certainly be patched and not like YOLO, whatever, we can't do security, we can't do software updates, so temporarily adjusted. But it didn't last long. After last week's announcement, they resume this apparently next month, April the 7th or something, Google Chrome release. Why did they wanted to do this? They wanted to do this because they did not want to break the internet, because nowadays everything cloud and Chrome and stuff. And yeah, they didn't want to break it because they have so few, Google of all companies has so no experience in software development and so few testing resources that they did not want to ship something that breaks like they have done already. But apparently, most likely they found some security vulnerabilities as per usual. Recurring theme here that you will get Chrome updates in a week's time in order to avoid server disruption to web developers and so on. Own engineers, most working from home, having resources strained due to ever worsening outbreak here, blog post today, they say, now ready to resume work on Chrome. But yeah, this also means that you need to ramp up. If you are there in some IT infrastructure and rely on web services, then yeah, you probably need to resume your Chrome testing and deployment infrastructure stuff then as well. Speaking about this stuff, Zoom meetings aren't end-to-end encrypted despite misleading marketing. So aka as in features temporarily adjusted. So yeah, the usual marketing of, hey, this is end-to-end encrypted, but except if it isn't. So Zoom, in my opinion, a little bit shady. Allegedly, I heard not the best things like this. AMD claims to implement end-to-end encryption, widely understood as the most private form of internet communication, protecting conversations from all outside parties. In fact, Zoom is using its own definition of the term own definition. Hey, it's end-to-end encrypt, asterisk. Not really, we only use it for marketing reasons, your mileage may vary. In fact, Zoom is using its own definition. 1 million people around the world working from home in order to, we know this. Still, Zoom offers reliability, easy to use, something as long as you make sure everyone in a Zoom meeting connects using computer audio instead of calling in on a phone. The meeting is secured with end-to-end encryption, at least according to their website. But despite the misleading marketing, the service actually does not support end-to-end encryption for video or audio content, at least as the term is commonly understood. Instead, it offers what is called transport encryption, explained further below. So yeah, anyway, also I have another news. So Zoom iOS app sends data to Facebook, even if you don't have a Facebook account. Of good ideas, actually not. I really wonder how people, why they even think it's a good idea to put a Facebook SDK in the app. Why the freaking heck do they need this in a, by 2020 you need an SDK for everything, certainly. Each app needs to connect with Facebook and Dropbox and certainly LinkedIn and Microsoft and whatnot. It's connected world, brave new times. And as people is working, we know the summary already, sort the data transfer. But also, of course, I did not disclose this in their privacy policy, I think here. So this sort of data transfer is not uncommon, yada yada. SDK means to implement features into the app essentially, which also has the effect of sending information to Facebook, but Zoom users may not be aware that it's happening, not understand that it has, that when they use one product that they may be providing data to another service altogether. In my opinion anyway, not a good idea to start with. In my opinion, all this stuff should be a little bit more separated. I find this anyway shocking. I mean, first of all, how we read the Apple App Store bullshit. It was shocking what we found there of waiving warranties and service reliabilities and ending App Store services anyway. But there's nothing in the privacy policy that addresses that. So 2020, the long fine print is worth 2 cents of brown garbage anyway. So not a surprise to me, but maybe to you. Recurring shout out. And also I had a recurring shout out that I already proposed multiple times and long ago, that for exactly this kind of things in your mobile app, I proposed to have actually some slide down and show all the connections to all the services connected. Then you could have, probably we need to implement this someday, but that if you are in an app and slide this down, you see all the connections that you would see in Zoom, like, hey, it made a connection to Facebook and LinkedIn and whatnot and Microsoft and so on. In my opinion, it would be a pretty amazing idea. Not sure if someone ever implemented this, maybe in Cubes OS, but In similar news, AMD is using DMCA to mitigate massive GPU source code leak. Would really, as much as it is legally questionable, looking at this, would so love actually to see their GPU source code. So this allegedly is Verilog, as in our own previous live stream. Of course, we here disclose our amazing Verilog source code of FPGA RISC-V and graphic core goodness. But would really be not only interesting for the open source driver, but in general to learn so much from that. But yes, of course, I can understand that they will understand in instance the driver is anyway open source. This is a little bit of this. It would be nice for a society as large to learn as it maybe this would even allow not only better open source drivers, which of course in AMD's case are already pretty amazing, but certainly new people like you and me get into this, learn at home and apply for a job, because without having this kind of commercial grade GPU code, it's actually hard to get into this field. Also, I understand, of course, you can open a competitive GPU foundry here, but of course, creating a GPU startup is hard business anyway, and you don't really need AMD source code for that. So yeah, I understand they don't, well, consider this trade secret. On the other hand, of course, NVIDIA has superb, actually I should not say this, NVIDIA has fast looking, would actually also be interesting to see what they are maybe hacking some benchmarks of fine-tuning just for some use code case. But why I hesitate with NVIDIA is, of course, the recurring viewers know that I'm not the most happy with NVIDIA not releasing documentations, in my opinion, for all hardware that you can buy and can buy from NVIDIA, you and me, for Linux or other hobby or commercial scale operating systems, for operating system research, or just your P3 at home, their previous video, would of course be quite reasonable to have documentation. Actually, usually I say it is necessary to have documentation, because you can't even, I mean, first of all, you don't even want to run Windows, right? Binary only. We have seen so many times what of, even in graphic drivers, there have been web servers in graphic drivers, no kidding. There have been security issues in NVIDIA's drivers or AMD drivers. So that is certainly why you and me and everyone here in the audience runs open source operating systems. And for this, you cannot write a proper, or well, you can, but it's of course a magnitude more difficult to reverse engineer this. So in my opinion, if you sell hardware, you should somewhat even be forced to publish the documentation. So if you have already the documentation, you can also theoretically implement compatible hardware. So yeah, but anyway, someone from the P3 community even asked me to make a video about this, but honestly, of course I understand they don't want their intellectual property in the open, but on the other hand, there is only NVIDIA and AMD and a little bit Intel, and all have their source code. And I mean, it's not like you and me basically know how to implement the GPU source code. So it's actually more learning from that and making IT systems better in the future, like better graphics sticks, open source graphics sticks, and they even have new engineers applying for jobs there. On the other hand, of course, the main reason, because, by the way, in my opinion, if I wanted to do a GPU startup, in my opinion, it is easier to just write it from source than trying to copy and paste from other leaked source, because it's often maybe not complete, hard to understand, and hard to debug and everything. So yeah, your mileage may vary, but it would actually certainly be devastating for them if you find a bug in there, right? So this is of course like Intel CPU bugs. If you and me take a look in here and find real bugs that they certainly can't fix, or maybe potentially can't fix, this would of course be devastating. But yeah, like if the Intel CPU's code leaks and you find all the Spectrum meltdown issues in there. But yeah, so apparently this leaked already somewhere a little bit, and they actually wanted to blackmail them. The whole thing is a little bit nair, and especially as they wanted, that's certainly a very criminal act, as much as I like to see specifications which AMD provides for the most part, and it is interesting for studying for computer science, but of course a very criminal thing that should not be downplayed, especially that they demanded here some 100 millions or so. Oh no, right, this is the value. The claimed hacker told the value, the source code at 100 million, but how they calculate this is unknown. I think they asked for money of, what exactly was this? money not to publish it or someone else to buy it. Anyway, asking, I mean, hacking is one thing, or like exposing a security flaw is one thing. Asking then for money is of course a very, well, at least like selling it, asking, not like asking for money like a bug bounty, but trying to sell this, of course, very criminal act. So certainly nobody should ever copy this behavior and stuff. Anyway, I just wanted to post a note that this is out there in the latest and greatest news here in this sort of stuff. In more positive news is also social distancing is certainly not only improving open source and open hardware, everyone sitting at home and can work on their favorite project, but it also slowing down not only this COVID-19 but also other diseases, apparently according to the study, which probably to no surprise if you don't have contact with people not washing their hands and stuff, and then you transmit less diseases, so such as a seasonal flu, but allegedly also others. Also, by the way, they studied here companies that have sold or given away more than 1 million smart thermometers in the US, collects anonymized thermometer readings via its app, which also connects to the device. Also, fun fact, if you were wondering, smart thermometers, right? I mean, first of all, why do you really need this? In all my life, I never like, hey, I need a smart app for my freaking thermometer. But if you were wondering, did you agree, if you have this, leave in the comments below, did you sync the smart app senses to the cloud app provider? And did you read the fine print? And did you agree that it's sent away? But anyway, they apparently collect this anonymized and has here some graphs. I think they even in some other graphs, they even, this or another company even made a graph of how this virus spread in real time. Here on people, mostly the US probably, who were reading the temperature and had increased temperature readings. But apparently they have a typical bounty expected and observed and stuff. And so apparently, yeah, people use this more. So apparently they receive 2 to 3 times more readings per day. People sitting at home checking there on their status, and then previous flu seasons. And yeah, certainly, of course, in one way interesting to make such studies, in one way, of course, frightening, in my opinion, that all the stuff connecting these days and sending this to the vendor. Leave me below what you think. Hope you're doing fine. Hope this IT summaries and also the main channel of IT stuff helps you and has some value for you, and you learn something. And hope you're doing fine. Leave in the comments below. Somehow slightly wondering, I hope we were, by the way, live, because not getting any comments, so slightly wonder people watching, but let's do some check. Now we are, of course, rushed through here, although slightly 0 drop frames with this bitrate. Excellent collection. I hope this is true in this broken internet day and age. You never know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this summary and learned something. As usual, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Spread the word here that other people have also the chance to learn. As usual, I'm still not sure what is the best format. Should I do every day one smart note? Because with this rushing it through in a whopping 40 minutes, it's a little bit rushed and a little bit fast. So if you have any comments to that, leave me in the comments below. More often, more smaller, one segment, like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Maybe this would actually be a better format. I'm just not yet 100% sure. Yeah, thanks for the comments. So at least this comment worked. Happy to hear that it was pretty neat. You can, of course, rewind this and watch it later. And in general, as a tip, you can, of course, when in some weeks we can commute again, you can use it as a podcast, or in general, use it as a podcast, because certainly probably mostly helpful also without the video. With that said, that's it for today. And as usual, leave in the comments below what you think about the topics and of the format, how we should continue it, because certainly I'm aware that all the other videos do better. So still not, is it worth doing this public service here, or should we better focus on other things? And that's it for today, and I hope to see you soon for the next videos and live streams to come.